I'm live here. We are live. What's going on, fellow traders? Let me get this tweeted out here. Let's see. And we are live. Okay. Sorry. Live. Okay, awesome. Let me just put that little thing in there. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry. Uh, there we go. Boom. Awesome. Think I typed that in right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we are live. What's going on, fellow traders? I hope everybody had a great trading day today. So just getting everything kind of situated here. So here we are. We're looking at the SPX, right? So the S&P cash. Wow. Amazing how things change, right? Like on the monthly chart, right? By, some big moves intraday, right? So that is, kind of one of the big things. So I kind of want to hit on here. Okay, good, good, good. So basically, right now the monthly is showing a bearish engulfing month, right? So we hit an all-time high, right? Now the this whole real body is engulfing this real body here, and we only have a couple days left in the month, so it's looking kind of bearish here at this point. So it's still kind of sort of holding on to this monthly trend line. So excuse me, let's see if we can continue to hold that. And if not, next month and kind of going forward could get kind of interesting. So, but we'll see, right? There's all sorts of bulls behind the scenes too. So, anyway, but basically just kind of see where we're at in context, right? We had the December low, right? Christmas reversal, January inside month, breaks to the upside, spinning top, hammer month, right? And then finally Mariposa month, we'll just call it Mariposa month, a very, very small upper shadow. Then we hit all-time highs this month, and we're kind of taking that down for a bearish engulfing month. We'll see if that gets follow through. We still have a couple days left in the month to determine what happened. There could be like trade war resolution and all that stuff, and the month could actually end up green. I mean, you just don't know. Right now, futures are red, so we'll see if we get some follow through from today's action into tomorrow morning and possibly throughout the day. Weekly chart is showing a death cross here, a 5MA crossing over the 10MA. We had the inside week last week, and now it's taken that to the downside. So the weekly is already starting to look pretty ugly here, just off of the first candle day. So total range today, 38 points. So volatility is definitely back. For newsletter subscribers, if you are a newsletter subscriber, we talked about the VIX this weekend in the newsletter, and we kind of knew that something was up, right? There was a lot of bearish indications coming in the newsletter, so we were prepared for that going in today. Caught a good trade today for in the private Twitter feed too. So here we go. We have the daily chart here. We talked about this as well recently, right? All the Bollinger Bands are pointing down, right? So we have death cross on the daily chart, right? 5 crossing over the 10MA, right? It's also crossing through this upper trend line too. So we're below this trend line here on this. It's just a little bit rough on the daily chart as it translates over from the monthly. But anyway, reaching the bottom of this cloud here. So as long as it can hold this 2800, right, key level, right, then it could potentially go. But if it breaks down, we got your 200-day moving average right here at 2777 range, right, and then it could see even lower than that. So always a possibility there. Let's go to the price action from today. So actually, let me remove these algo floor pivots here and just kind of go with what our manual plugin stuff. So every night for newsletter subscribers, I tweet out in the private Twitter stream the different levels for your floor pivot levels, other key levels too, including volumetric levels, which I translate from the SPY. And so just kind of take a look here. So big move up today, right? Nice breakdown here, reversal off of after it couldn't quite get to yesterday's high, kind of tumbled back down, right? Retested that daily pivot level where we opened, kind of broke below that. Then we had another reversal here as your trend line. We talked about if anybody saw that 3-minute video the other day, fortunes can be made on the SPX, right? So hold on here while my Thinkorswim here just tries to figure out what's going on. So yeah, but I can kind of illustrate here. So here's your downward trend line. We talked about this in the 3-minute I can't even show it because it just jumped around. Okay, so in the 3-minute video we did this weekend, right? Secrets revealed on trend lines. Here is your significant high, right? And then we go to the lowest low. Then we go to the next relative prior high, and then we draw our line through there, right? So we kind of broke through that. Then that gave us kind of an up move on the short time frame. That's going to give you like a kind of like a pivot area. That's your long, right? You draw your box, right, around that area. Let's see if it'll do that for me. Yep, right there. Then you trade your break above that. Then you had a nice move here, from this. Then you had that your trend line actually ended up being basically kind of bear flaggish here, so it kind of broke down again, right? Kind of had your pivot level there. Draw your box. Okay, breaks down there, retests these levels, tries again to the upside, and then ultimately here was basically the ultimate breakdown, right, of the day. So here's your upper trend line, right? Here's your kind of pivot area. You can even use that pivot area, whichever one you're more comfortable with. Let's just say that. Okay, here's your breakdown here. Retested it and then back down, and then look what happened. Huge move to the downside. Big move down. That's one of the biggest moves in a while. So 28.32, right? Basically to 28.02. So a nice 30-point down move, guys. This was I showed newsletter subscribers how this was $700 of risk trading the SPX here to turn it to $22,000 today. So really, really awesome stuff. Let's just take a kind of look at the big picture stuff here. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at the big picture stuff here. Okay, good. So big picture stuff. We've got, sorry guys, just kind of checking. All right, so we have our channel here, right, which went through basically all of, right, 2018. So it's kind of managed after we had this, massive run up on, through 2017, right? Kind of had some volatility at the beginning of last year, and then, worked its way back up, double top here, kind of tagged the bottom of the channel, right? Couple tests here, right? So it's sort of like a, 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 B, C, B, right? C correction right to the downside, and then it's kind of worked its way back up really, really phenomenally, right? Over here, got back in the channel, retested those levels, kind of came back up, hit this macro pitchfork level, right? Kind of pivoted here and then back up to the median line, which also served as not the median line, the midpoint line between the median and the upper pitchfork, right? Had resistance here. Now look where we're back at the pitchfork median line. So we're kind of just tweeted out, we're at the moment of truth, right? So if we get below this, then that could have more bearish implications, right? So we might, work on this pivot here, and then, if we get to that pivot here, we're back at the bottom of the channel, right? And we'll see if it can hold that. So, kind of significant stuff. You can see the RSI here. We did have, some kind of, bullish, movements here, right, showing the kind of this, I guess not exactly divergence, but we have this kind of bullish trend line here from higher lows on the RSI. So we can see if this actually tests here, and then maybe holds that support. So which kind of corresponds with the pitchfork too. So kind of neat stuff. So that is just kind of a big look at the market here. We'll see if we get some follow through again. The futures are looking a little bit icky here this morning. Earnings season is over, right? So all the positive news that companies could come out with, big moving type information is kind of done. So we'll have to see if there's any other sort of big news that comes out, or maybe we'll get some tweets overnight about some, or in the morning about some trade stuff going well, things like that, and the market will completely reverse, and then this whole negative red month, bearish engulfing month will be kind of changed over. But for now, we'll just trade the price and kind of go from there. So. Good stuff. So today, really, really exciting stuff. We are going to, I hope everybody is okay. I'm just having some weird stuff here. It's showing one person is here, but I'm seeing lots of comments. Yeah, I don't know. YouTube's acting a little bit funny, but hopefully everybody's seeing everything okay. Everything looks like my stream health is showing good, so I just want to make sure everybody's good. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move on then. I'm going to move over back onto the topic of the week, which is options made easy. And so, options are great. This is all I exclusively trade really anymore. I don't trade shares anymore. I don't even trade IPOs just because they're ridiculous. They hardly ever get a breakout anymore. So, and there will be sometimes, but you just make so much more just trading options and not even worry about it, right? So I kind of wanted to just put this together just to kind of explain all the basics, right? I take things for granted when I tweet things out, about options. There's a lot of beginners out there. I think it's really awesome, and my one big thing I like to do with this channel is to help people learn and help people make people more successful, and hopefully one day become financially independent by being able to trade for a living. So that is my goal for everybody. And so options, kind of really key stuff. Yesterday we talked about the key definitions, right? We went over option prices. Today we're going to talk about Greeks. Tomorrow we'll talk about picking options, setting stops, and all that stuff. Okay, so yesterday we talked about, what the intrinsic value of an option is, right? And we talked about that you take your, the current price of stock and you subtract it from the strike price of it, right? So if you're out of the money, right, there is no intrinsic value. It's all the rest of it, the time value. Okay, so when you're in the money, you actually have some intrinsic value in that. We went through a couple different charts, mostly just the SPY yesterday, and that reminds me, give me 1 second, let me switch that over to the grid of the option comparisons. Okay, so we had that from the other day. All right, good. And so what I had here, I kind of finished yesterday saying that time value is not just time, it includes other Greeks. And so today I kind of want to get into it a little bit more. I don't want to be completely, I don't want this to be completely misleading, right? Because the time value, right, is not just time, it includes other stuff, right? So there's time decay, right? That's the one thing with options. You got to be good with direction, okay? You have to be good with time, right? And then you have to be good with movement, right? These are all kind of like the big things that are important with options, right? So now they're cheaper. They're cheaper than buying, usually buying 100. It gives you power to trade, right? Which is like a, one contract for like 100 shares of a, of a stock. It, it gives you that kind of leverage, right? You're kind of trading the same amount and a lot less risk, right, than having all those shares, right? It doesn't tie up as much money, and you can make just as good profit with it too. So. But anyway, the Greeks themselves, and I just kind of want to start with this, so we're going to get into this real quick. The Greeks themselves, I just wrote right here, they do not affect price directly, okay? But they show how they can be affected, okay? So the Greeks, when we talk about Greeks, we talk about theta, right? We talk about gamma, right? We'll just go the definitions really quickly here soon. But those do not actually affect the price. The only thing that affects the price is your time decay. Okay, so your time, which is theta, which is a measurement of theta of how much is estimated to affect it. Okay, but your options just simply decay. Okay, there's time affected there. Okay, so and then also the movement, right? The movement of it is key. If you're just chopping around, right, you're not moving, right, and then therefore the time is just ticking away at it, right, and the other things that affect it too, and we'll talk about in a minute, is supply and demand. Okay, so options can be bid up a lot. If there's a lot of people buying, or institutions start buying, it could really drive the price up of the options, right? Now, what the Greeks do is they give you snapshots in time of what's happening. Okay, and we'll take a look at that in a minute, just kind of using the TOS. To look at what all the Greeks are saying is a snapshot, right, of what's going on. Okay, so what's more important is to realize about options pricing is the impact of future time to create and volatility of the underlying position. So that's the other really key element, right, of option pricing. Okay, so if you're in the money, you have intrinsic value, which is the difference between the option price and the price of the shares minus, right, the strike price. So let's say you have a $100 option and or $100 stock, and you're at a strike price of 95, then you have $5 intrinsic value. So anything above and beyond $5, right, is going to be your time value. Okay, so in that time value could include time decay, but it also could include volatility. Okay, so when volatility goes up, right, the price of the time value goes up as well, so the price of the options go up as well. So we'll take a look at that in a second. But this is kind of just a breakdown here. This is kind of a quick chart to show the different type of Greeks that you'll see or you'll hear about there. Okay, so your option Greeks, okay, is you have your delta. Okay, and then I'm just going to jump to that right now. All right, so your delta is how much an option price changes for every dollar move in the underlying share. So think speed. Okay, if you think physics or something like that, think speed. Okay, so for every dollar it moves, right, your delta is an estimate, is a snapshot of how much the options are going to move. Okay, so if you have a delta of 1 and your the shares move $1, then your options will move $1. Okay, they'll move 1 point. Okay, and so your delta, I kind of have here that just basically it's affected by the spot price of the of the shares, and then also what strikes you're trading to. So the next Greek is your gamma. Okay, so your gamma, when we go back to physics, okay, we think of acceleration. Okay, so the gamma is the measure of the rate of change of delta. So how much options delta will change as the price of the underlying shares change. Okay, so sometimes, right, when things really start to move, your delta really starts to move. That's why with options, you can get these really colossal moves, and you'll newsletter subscribers see that a lot with the SPX when I do our reviews or when we trade them, right? You can see that you could get like really quick moves because they move, because SPX is very expensive, right? It's $2,800, right? So it moves 50 bucks in a day, right? Sometimes, or 30 points on a move. We looked at that just a minute ago. So when you move 30 points and you have a delta of 1, then you're going to make, 3 grand on one call, right? Or one put, right? Because of the delta is 1 to 1, right? But there's gamma involved as well. So if it starts to move fast, right? So and that delta starts to change quickly, it's going to get more movement, right? Okay, cool. So that's your gamma. Okay, now your vega, right? So V vega volatility. Okay, so that is your snapshot of the effect of volatility on the option. Okay, so hopefully this is starting to make sense. Okay, these are not all part of a mega formula into. There's not like just a big D in there or a gamma in there. These are just Greeks that kind of describe snapshots of it, and they give you mathematical estimates of what could happen to the options. The actual pricing of the options are affected by time, right? So your time decay, then the volatility, okay, and then and they're also affected by historical volatility, rate of there's calculations are involved in there. There's several option estimates as well. But once these things start moving, right, these kind of just give you kind of a snapshot of what what could happen with these. Okay. So vega is your volatility. So here I just say measures the rate of change of the options price for every 1% change in the implied volatility of the underlying shares. So when you think IV, think vega. Okay. So here I just mentioned options IV tends to oscillate on a certain range depending on the beta of the underlying stock. So beta is not an option Greek, but it is a Greek, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Now keep in mind your high risk stocks. So when we talk about high beta stocks, we're talking about the fangers, right? So Facebook, Amazon, Apple, right? Apple not so much, but a little bit. Netflix, Nvidia, Google. Okay, so these are your high beta tech stocks, right? And so that high beta affects your IV because they can really, really move, right? And puts a lot of risk in it, right? Because they can move really quickly and really fast. And so when all right, so when your vega is up, your implied volatility goes up, these things can really move. That's why when we trade Netflix at the open, they really move, right? But when you trade like GE at the open, it's like, okay, I just made 5 cents, right? So that type of thing. So any given stock is likely to have higher IV in more volatile times. So obviously when the market is kind of tanking, right, that you have a high VIX, right, this is going to affect your stocks. It makes it really, really difficult to trade because once the market reverses, right, it makes it difficult to trade straight options because the market reverses, your VIX goes down. So even if you buy calls, depending on the speed that it goes up, it might not exactly affect, it might not help your calls as much as it would as if the IV were low. Okay. And then finally look at theta, which is your time to maturity, right? So your theta is that is basically essentially a Greek that shows you how the options decay over time. And then your rho, your rate of interest is mostly kind of ignored. Okay, so your theta. Here's a graph. I was asked to kind of show a graph of what the theta looks like. So as you get closer to expiration, okay, your theta, right, or the amount of time decay is rapid. Okay, it's like logarithmic, right? So in the beginning, no big deal, right? It's a little bit, but as long as you can catch a good move, like today we traded McDonald's in the private Twitter, right? And I went out like into July, I believe, and so I'm not worried about time decay into July, right? I know there's going to be a move, and so I just want to capitalize on as much as I can, right, without having to trade the stock. And so we had a nice move today. A bunch of folks made like 30%, nice trades and all that stuff. So anyway, so the closer you get, the bigger the decay is, right, as you get there, right? And so it continues, and then as you get closer to expiration, right, it gets pretty huge. So this really, really comes into play. Now, if you're, long-term swinging options and all that stuff, you could look to roll over and all that stuff. We're not going to get into that right now, but tomorrow we'll talk about picking options. So that's one of the things we'll talk about. We'll look at that, especially on the weekly options, right? Because that can happen. Oh gosh, did you hear the thunder back there? So just if I get cut off, you'll know why. Okay, so that being said, all right, that is that. And then let's see real quick. Rho, that's your affected by, that's a change of interest rates. Okay, really, really boring stuff. Really doesn't affect your options that much, right? Unless there was like, I don't know, unless Powell came out and raised interest rates to 10% or something like that overnight, then yeah, the rho would finally come into play. But for the most part, it doesn't really do anything. And then beta, I just want to say this: beta is not a Greek for options, but the beta of a stock represents the uncertainty of its movement. Okay, so that's why the fangers can really be kind of a big deal. And SPX has high beta. Okay, so that's why we like to trade them, because they're fun and they move. And if we catch the right direction and we catch the right setup on it, we can make some bucks. So there we go. So that's an overview of the Greeks. So let me show you real quick what these look like when we're when we're analyzing those. Okay, so here I've just got the SPY pulled up. So here's today's SPY chart. Just kind of a comparison. If I wanted to, we could just kind of look at today's. Let's see where we're at. We were at 284 today. So look at the 284 puts today. That looks interesting. And then we'll look at today's expiration. So we'll do the 28s. Okay. See if that'll pull up for me. If I pulled up something legitimate here. What is going on? Auto zoom. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's look what happened here with the puts. Okay, so here, oh my goodness, there's lightning out there. Okay, so here where we kind of broke down, right? From today. So this was at about 12:30. So at about 12:30 here, you could see on the 284 options, they were in the money at the time, right? Because 284, right, on your puts was greater than your price. So you're in the money. And then from there, you can see it was a pretty awesome trade, right? So 30-point moves, right, on the SPX, and in this case on the SPY, 283, and 3-point moves on the SPY can be pretty significant, right? So that you're basically in around, say like 80, 90 cents, right? And they went up to $3, right? So that's a big move. And you see how they kind of accelerate too? I mean, here is kind of a steady move down, but you get some really steep moves in the options. That's because we start to see acceleration in the pricing of the underlying shares, okay? And so let's take a look at SPY, and we'll just kind of look. I'll pull up something really cool here that you guys can look at. And you guys can do this, and you can analyze it too in your free time, when you're studying these. So let's have this pull up here. Let's get charts. Oh, that's SPX. That's why it took so long. So SPY. Guys, if I lose power, I'm sorry. But I got through the core, the meat of the discussion here. So, but what I'm going to do here is I've got the SPY options pulled up. These are today's expirations. Here are the let's pull up the 284s. 284 puts are right here. So $3. You can see they had a low of about 57. So really, really nice move on that today. But what I'm going to do is here, if you use Thinkorswim, you can click this, and I just created a custom one called Greeks. Okay, and I basically put all the Greeks up here. Okay, so I have your delta. Okay, I have your gamma, right? Your theta, your vega, and your rho. Okay, and so I want to show what that looks like. So right, it's not really captured very well here on SPY. So let me actually pull up like Amazon, because I think it will give a nicer kind of display. Okay, so here we go. So here's your delta. So you can see as you go further in the money, the higher your delta gets. Okay, so what this means is if you want to swing a stock, or if you want to swing options like the stock, the higher the delta you want, right? If you're at 1, these are really expensive, right? All right, $300, right? So I mean, this starts to get pretty expensive, right? When you get to 1, but basically when I'm looking at options, I like to trade like around 0.70. Okay, so $32. Okay, so you could control 100 shares of Amazon. Okay, so which is how much? 180 grand. So instead of putting 180 grand out there, right, for Amazon, you could own it for $33, right? So that being said. So here you have $3,200. You own these things. Okay, so essentially every dollar that Amazon moves, so it moves $10. Okay, so here it moved $13 at one point. So if it moved $10 in your direction, let's say to the downside, so it moved there, right? Then you're going to make how much? So $10, right? So for every dollar this moves, you're at 0.70, right? So you made how much? So $10, right? So for every dollar it moves 70 cents. So 70, right? So $7, right? So you don't make it a full $10, but you made 70% of that. Okay, so $7, not bad, right? So you multiply that by, your amount there, so $700. So not bad, right? So that's pretty good. So at this point, what I want to show you is, how these kind of compare. So we know that delta is you're moving. This is your speed. But what happens is you're not always here, right? So if it continues to move in your direction, the delta is going to continue to increase. Okay, and so that's the beauty here. You can kind of see the gamma, right, is your acceleration, how much it accelerates, right? So it's pretty low, right, on Amazon. But some of them have higher gamma. So actually, the cheaper you get, I believe. So if we look at AMD, for instance, a cheaper stock, $29 stock. You're going to start to see higher gammas, okay? Because once you're high, like super duper high, like priced like Amazon, the acceleration value doesn't really do anything, right? So now obviously it starts to move even more. It could, but for the most part, you have higher percentage moves of if you have a big move in AMD. So that's going to affect things more. So if you have a huge $10 spike in AMD, it's going to really, really be huge on the options, right? So but the $10 spike in Amazon is not going to affect it as much. And keep in mind, these are snapshots, right? These are snapshots of where we are right now and how much, given the current time, right, or the current pricing and the current time, where, right, the option values are going to be. Okay, so or it could estimate as being, right? So keep in mind, so as you get more in, right, you can see this continues to increase, right? So that's part of the magic of options. So if you can guess your direction and you can get your timing right and it can actually move, you can really, really capitalize on it, right? So so that's great. Okay, all right, so here's your theta. You can see it's got really high theta on this. So basically this is saying that this is going to continue to decrease, basically $2, right? So I think pretty much it'll obviously get more closer to where you are as you get closer to expiration, right? But right now it's estimating a $2 change. So if nothing moves, right? So you can see how painful this could be. This is why chop and this is why chop can affect you so much, right? So if you're at $18 and you don't do anything except wait, you're gonna be down to $16 by the end of the day, right? So that's not fun when you chop around. Okay, your vega, right? That's your implied volatility, right? So that's your that's the move, right? If it's the rate of change of the options price for every 1% change in implied volatility. Okay, so here's your implied volatility up here. Okay, so we're looking at kind of like 25 range. Okay, so so for every point change in this, you're looking at a potential point change here of 0.77. Okay, and then your row, this is really negligible. This is for your interest rate changes. So that's it. Those are your Greeks, guys. Hopefully it's not Greek to you anymore, right? So that's kind of wanted to give you a clue there. But kind of dig into this. I highly recommend just kind of starting to look at these, right? Start to see how things move, like with your deltas. Go back and look at trades. Write down your deltas when you enter. If you can, right, and then write down your deltas when you exit. I wish I could chart these a little bit better, through Thinkorswim. I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet, but it would be cool to get an export at how they change essentially as the price changes. You can kind of plot that and see. That is definitely for another time. But hopefully that gives you kind of a good clue. We've defined all the Greeks. We've kind of showed what they are. We showed that these are actually not part of time value, but they're a snapshot of it, of the things that affect the time value. Okay, and then but really the key takeaway is that we need to get the direction correct. We need to get the timing correct, and we need to make sure it moves. Okay, so those are the main ways to make profits with options. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk more about picking options, right? So we're going to kind of combine a lot of this stuff and make a little bit more sense. Just for literally just kind of boots on the ground, how we trade and what we look at when we look at different time frames, and then just kind of go from there. And then we'll finish up by kind of risk management, which is really, really key. It'll be a fun way to finish up this discussion on it. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get to as many as we can. I know this is a long one. This is going to be the longest one through the series, but it's really important to kind of cover it so you can kind of get a clue of what the Greeks are. So you're not blindsided by it, and somebody's saying like, oh, well, how's the delta on that, or how's the gamma, right? So you'll be able to respond, it makes sense. So either way, it's mostly important to help you with your trading so you can kind of evaluate options, right? So, but real quick, we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, but real quick, it's best to trade options that have volume. Well, we'll talk about this tomorrow. So we'll talk about picking options tomorrow. So sorry, I'm going to get rambling here. Okay, good stuff. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Looks like we got a good crowd, so really appreciate everybody checking it out. So let's kind of go through and see what everybody's got. Alpesh, what's going on? Thanks for jumping on. Paul, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Nudie Poo, what's up? Paul, just watched the daily trade vid. Nice. Yeah, blows your mind, doesn't it? Seriously, guys, $700 to 20 grand today. We gotta love it. That's the beauty of trading. That's why we keep doing it. And that's why you gotta understand risk, right? And we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow. Nudie Poo, yeah, let's take a look at Riot. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen this one in forever. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna pull up the master grid. Oh, futures are getting beat down 12. Oh. We'll see. We'll take a look at it before we finish up and see. I'll tweet it out later, so we'll see how that looks. Okay. Pulling up Riot. Sorry, guys. Lots of stuff talking about tonight. Okay, there we go. All right, so Riot. All right, how's it doing? Where are we? Where is it? Is it way down there? Oh my goodness, such a penny stock. Is this it? Way down here? What is that? Just not. So if I auto zoom, it goes there. Wow, that thing is so way down there. It's odd. Oh, my thinkorswim's been a little bit goofy today, so give me a second. Why is it? Really? There we go. Wow. All right, so here we are. Okay, cool. So here's your Riot. Obviously, that huge crazy move right when the blockchain was going nuts. This has kind of been working its way down, right? So we took a peek here in terms of peak and trough. We took a peek here for the fib fan or the fib the fib fan lines, and so basically from high to low, and we saw how it was kind of working its way here. Give a nice push up here. Now what does this look like, guys? This looks like a head and shoulders, right? So here's your shoulder, here's your head, here's your shoulder, and let's draw this. Okay, draw a neckline. It's already filled that gap. Just kind of keep this in mind. It's starting to break. Honestly, I'm kind of being generous there. So if we activate there, that's kind of like your head and shoulders. So at this point, right, it does look like it's starting to break down there. So just be careful with that if you're looking long on it. But you can look for potential support here, right, on your fib fan line about like 260, 265, that type of thing. And then might get a push. Okay. La Machine Polonaise, good evening. Wow, there was so much to cover tonight. I hope that was helpful. Harvey, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Netfry, what's up? Welcome, Netfry. Dave Thomas, what's going on, man? How can the VIX go? Let's take a look at the VIX real quick. So if I understand what you're saying. So we got the VIX right here. All right, let me go to. Maybe you're asking how high I can go. Well, here's a big kind of picture chart of the VIX. Okay. If you guys got to watch the 3-minute video yesterday in the trend, or 2 days ago on the trend lines, okay, here's a recent trend line to the downside. Look what's happening. Okay, so it's broken through the trend line. We had an inside day, right, last week, okay, on Friday, and we broke that to the upside. Inside day up. Okay, so this is your breakthrough, right? This is kind of your pivot high. So we want to get really cautious if we break through that Thursday high right there. Here's your channel. Okay, or there's your square. Okay, so if we get above this level, 1805, then this thing can spike. Okay, this thing can definitely test these levels. It's 2339. Now here's kind of a downward trend line from that massive move back here, back in February of 2018. Okay, kind of took everybody by surprise. Okay, to the December lows. Okay, so if it did go, it could easily touch this kind of 28 level. That's kind of your first area of resistance. Then if it got above that, right, then it could get scary. Then we draw another box. Okay, if it say were to break out there, and then it can push. Okay, it could definitely retest those levels if it got above that. Here, right, 36, then it could test there. But we'll see if it can hold. If it did break, right, we'll see if it could hold that 28 as resistance. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And then I just want to show you too what we were talking about the other day in the newsletter. Let's go to the daily. This is one of the things we kind of went into this week looking at, through the newsletter, and it's kind of key. So look at how we held the cloud. All right, so last week, right, this is your cloud on your daily chart on the VIX. Okay, so we held that and it popped up, right? And it never came back and retested. It just gave you an inside day. So that warranted caution, okay? So what we want it to be below resistance levels, right? We want it to stay nice and low if we're going to be going long on anything. But what we had here was an inside day break to the upside. It got over the 200-day moving average, okay, key level. All right, so we just have to be very, very cautious kind of going forward with the VIX right now. So we kind of looked at where it could go. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And that's the thing too with these, this is going to make option prices go way up. Last big move down right here. I mean, we were looking at buying calls and puts. I mean, they were all like $20 at the money, right, on SPX. So it's crazy, but just something to keep in mind. All right, that's where the option pricing. So now you guys know where all this stuff comes from, right? So why are these option prices so high? Well, is the IV high? Then that makes sense, right? Okay, cool. Callsaw, what's going on? Yeah, good day today. Good. Sarah, how are you? Thanks for jumping on. Sindor, what's going on, my friend? Thanks for jumping in. IWM. Let's take a look. Since I have the daily candles pulled up, let's see how that's looking. Sure. Okay, so that's very interesting. It looks like we had not quite an inside day, but we did have a Harami. So the real body was contained by the prior day's real body. Okay, try to break that to the upside, failed, and pushed through the entire range. Okay, so this is basically railroad tracks, right, around kind of a narrow range day. So we'll see. We've got right now. It looks like the upper Bollinger Band is starting to point down, meaning all Bollinger Bands are pointing down. So it could give you continued test. Possibly test these lows here. It's 148.67. Another possible test here, 148.28. So remember, oftentimes IWM does lead the market a lot. So we'll see if that gets a push to the downside tomorrow. Well, let's go back up to the kind of the volumetric levels. Okay, so we've been kind of tracking a few of these things. This pitchfork is no longer needed. At the time, it was significant. At this point, you just kind of want to go a little bit bigger picture. See if I can get this here. So trying to find a significant area. Draw pitchfork. Here's your start. Nice pivot low. All-time high. Recent pivot low. Okay, so you can see what's happening here. So it's a little bit different, right? So you saw the SPX was just testing the median line. This was testing it the opposite way. Right, so before SPX is testing it like from the bottom up, it's testing it as resistance. It's testing as support on the on the SPX. So just be really, really careful here, right? So it's resisted this median pitchfork line twice. Okay, so it's kind of approaching the midpoint line, so it could try to hold, but if it breaks down further, right, it could start to work its way back down to kind of these 140 levels. So just be careful about that. Mike, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hopefully this was good. Hopefully this is good discussion today. Sindor, what's going on? Yeah, my pleasure. We got some more. Sorry, CMG. Oh, that had some relative strength today. Goodness gracious, up 17. So let's see. No keeping down the burritos. Let's see. So let's see. We're still below the fib fan line. Huge move down, but then inside day up. So that was 673, so a nice 7 points on that inside day up today. Okay, you're right at resistance on this fib fan resistance, but if it could get over, some of these levels, right, then it could start to fill that gap. Okay, and then might work its way back down. ADSK. Wow, looking great. Goodness gracious, that's going on the short list. That is beautiful. Thank you for pointing this one out. Yeah, we had earnings a couple days ago, and then we finally got some real movement. Let's see if we can get some follow through on that. I'm going to put that on the short radar for tomorrow. I really, really like that one. So let's go. Give me 1 second. I'll just update the list. Okay. Wednesday. Yeah, really great stuff, man. Thanks for pointing that one out. Okay, so we'll add that to the list. ADSK. Okay, nice. Thank you. All right, cool. I'm going to put an alert on it too. Let's see, I'm not going to chase a gap down on it, but if it tests those, the kind of that topping tail right there, it's already, held that kind of gap resistance. It could get pushed through. I like how it's below all the fib fan lines too. So really, really nice. Nice one. All right, Ross. This reported last week too, right? So it had kind of a move there. Let's see if it got any follow through today on a 30 orb. Let's see. Wow, that's really messy. I need to clean up that chart. Yeah, so you can see here it was kind of contained by its, basically its first, bar yesterday. But here's your 30 orb right here. Beautiful move. Okay, so on, kind of like a day 2, day 3, after kind of a major move. This is day 2 after it. You could trade the 30 orb. And guys, this looks horrible. I'm removing all studies. Sorry. You don't need them. Okay? So here's your orbs. Okay? So all contained by the 30 yesterday, but here's your 30 orbs today. This is great. So this is why we trade these. Okay, so here's your 30-minute bar, opening range bar. Okay? There's your level. Okay? Look what happened. Nice breakdown right there. So that was basically 93 all the way to 91, which on this stock is really, really big move. Okay? So really nice chart right there. So that was your 30 orb on day 2. Which is the orb technique. Deckers. Let's see. This was yep, the earnings are there. Okay, so this ended up being a boring 30 orb, but it kept you out of trouble, right? There's no break to the upside or downside, so just kind of chopped around in there. Let's look at the daily. Generally, trend is generally up. I mean, it's kind of boring. Here's your looks like your most significant recent pivot. Right, here's your highs. So try to find the next pivot right before that, basically right here. Okay, it kind of broke down, retesting this level. Your short zone is, I mean, you could test here. If it doesn't break below it, you could potentially short there, right? Otherwise, look for it to break down there below the 137.90, then it'll start filling that gap. So, but not a bad risk reward if the market's weak tomorrow to test it here on a retest of that upward trend line where it failed, because sometimes they like to retest those trend lines and then break to the downside. Good. And SMH. Okay. Definitely working its way down. I mean, here, just a really significant move. Oh, it couldn't hold its pitchfork median line. So that's kind of like your trend line right there. You could look for more significant ones on a short-term time frame, but in general, it's not looking good. But it is at volumetric support. Okay, so see if that holds. If not, it might work on. Here's like a shoulder, head. Might work on another shoulder at that trend line, kind of then work its way back down. So wow, really good stuff, Sindor. Awesome ones. Thanks for getting me looking at some cool stuff. Everybody's got great chart requests, of course, but that was really fun. Robin, what's going on? I had no idea you were going to ask for those, but that's great. I really appreciate it. These are all great ones. So let's take a look. I do want to look at Disney today, too. I meant to put it on the 15 orb list if I didn't today, because they did have a good, because they still made a bunch of money with Avengers, and then they had Aladdin this weekend, which looks pretty cool. So looks like they kind of did like a Bollywood type style dancing on it and all that stuff. Lots of colors. It looked really neat. Anyway, so here we go. So we had so this was basically just showing a previous action reaction line, type thing, with the cues. We looked at this last time. Okay. So this was, reaction line. Okay. To kind of bounce, kind of came back down. Then we had this upward trend line that we looked at. Okay. So let's actually let's edit this. This is actually not accurate. So let's go here. So we have your high, your low to your high. You go to your next significant pivot, which is right there. Okay. So that's your levels. We have broken down through that upper trend line. Now it is definitely downtrending. Okay, so so we'll test it. We'll look and see if it can hold this 175, 75 type area, and then see if it can kind of bounce off of that. If not, it could break down further. Okay, so there's definitely been a change in trend, right? And anyway, really neat stuff there off of those action reaction lines. And then Diz. There it is. In all its glory, right? The floating head and shoulders. so, so yeah, it's still holding up on that neckline right there. It's kind of trying, but let's see how they behave today on your 15 orb based on good movie box office news. So here's your 15. There's your orb. I mean, quick spike to the upside. Could have caught a little bit of a move on that. Big reversal. Really tricky price action here on the on Disney today. Disney's tough to trade intraday. If you can catch a good swing on it, you're good, like NetFry did. So yeah, but nice move here, and then eventually broke down that orb at the end of the day. But then it still didn't give it all the way. That little spike right there at the end. But yeah, but kind of a decent breakdown there. So tough to trade intraday, but yeah, let's see if it holds. It's got to hold that neckline still for more. Otherwise, we'll go back and start looking at that gap, I believe. So there's a huge gap right there that it probably wants to fill at some point. It's just looking at an excuse to do it. It's not holding up well on good news. So it might give up that neckline at some point. So just be careful of that if you're holding long. And then Roku is great. Got Andrew, Carlos, and Calsall. You guys pointed this out as a good 15 orb today, right? You had this big move to the upside, right? And so now look what's going on. So we drew this trend line on it just recently, and now we have broken below the trend line. So the question is, will this become a reversal? And if it breaks down below today's low, it could. So let's see. Let's take a look at the 15 orb on this one. Where am I? There we go, 15 orb. We drew this earlier. Remove. Okay, here's your 15 orb. Opening range bar. Right, got downgraded today. So there's your move. Breaks to the downside, 91.68. On to 89. Okay, so nice move there. A little bit of a, shorts covering and all that stuff. Kind of retested, kind of double. This is actually a 2B reversal top. Okay, so here's your high. Then there's your second top, which took out this level. The bar that pierced your high, your prior high was this one, so your breakdown is below here. Oh, sorry, I thought I had my square up. So this breakdown is there. So you redo it again as it retests that orb level. Couldn't get back above it, but anyway, back there at 90, all the way down to 87. So another nice move at the end of the day. Good stuff. Really, really interesting ones. Shirley, what's going on? Good to see you. Paul White, what's happening? Thanks for jumping on. Experience and thoughts. Good evening. NetFry, good, great info. My pleasure. Harvey, what's up? NetFry, what's up? Session. Okay, let's take a look. AYX. Okay, let's take a look here. Wow, big move today. Goodness gracious, look at that bar. Beautiful. Gap and go. Wow. Nice trade if you caught that. Yeah, so big stuff. We've been tracking this. See what we had here. So this is kind of a prior bull flag, right? Off of a, kind of move here. Then we had our push to the upside off of that. Now it's actually kind of looks like it's working on a little bit of a head and shoulders, but I just kind of want to redraw. Oh, where was I? There. So we want a significant level. I'm going to remove this. So this low here, significant low, to the high. Next significant pivot right there. So we're below kind of this recent trend line up. Okay, so we see this breakdown here. So really the key is, obviously if we get back above that trend line, it's good on the bullish side. But if it fails, breaks down here, that starts to get significant. Okay, so that level is really key at that 83.25 type level. So that basically would put you back into this kind of this mini channel right here. So as long as it stays above it, I don't know. Looks like it might kind of want to chop around, but it had a big move today. So just see how it handles all these different levels. Pretty complex, but very interesting. So, and of course, any news you can just rely on your 15 orb type setups. Facebook, really good. I mean, bullish move today. Everything was down. Just like the last one that we just looked at. But this had a nice green day today of all the fangers. I mean, Amazon was green, but not quite like this, right? So it broke its inside day up and then came back in, but Facebook stayed above it. So here's your inside day. It broke above and stayed. Okay, so I really, really like this. I want that RSI just to get above this downward trend line that we had. But once we get there, this, Facebook is definitely, a potential one to put some money into, or that institutions might look at. So that's going to be on the long radar for tomorrow. So thank you for mentioning that one. UNP. UNP. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing. But we have a lot of gaps. This looks like a nice significant low to high. There. It's breaking down. Okay? So it's breaking down below this trend line. So just be really careful. It's starting to really break down. Okay? Because there's your first minor pivot and it's below it. Okay? So just be very careful where we are right now. Okay? So that could break down to the downside. Watch this pivot here. Watch this pivot here as a potential target. This looks really good for the short list. Okay? So keep that one in mind. And then CMG we just took a look at. And then Sir B, hey, no problem, my pleasure. Session, W-Day run will boost CRM back to the top. Nice. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, so W-Day's got earnings. They just had earnings tonight, so it's going to be on the 15-orb watch list. Pure HK warned me of some option spreads being nasty. This one can move, though. Let's see how bad the spreads are. Yeah, they're spready, so you just got to be really careful. They're about 50-cent spreads, 50 to 40-cent spreads. So if you put a stop here at 50 cents, you think you're going to lose 50 cents, think again, it's probably going to go down another 50 cents. So it's really about $1. So you just have to just be really, really careful with that stuff. I'm going to go to kind of my option kind of stuff. Yeah, it's got good open interest and good volume. So, should get an IV crush tomorrow after earnings and then could make it tradable. So we'll look at the 15 orb there. Right now it looked pretty choppy after hours. So let's just kind of see how that's looking. Yeah, big spike. It's looking really, really choppy. So it could be really nice either way. So nice chop for for trading a 15 orb tomorrow. So it could be pretty good. Just got to be careful with those spreads. And then CRM, absolutely. Experience and thoughts. Is there a setup you look for into Greeks when you're looking to trade like a Delta 70? But what about the rest? Sorry if it sounds silly. No, it's totally right. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow. But trading a Delta 70 just gives you more control of your trade, right? Because you don't get as much bounce around. So a lot of times you could look at your chart and you could set a stop at the low of the days if you have a really low delta, but it could push below. You just have to be really careful with setting your stops, and we'll talk about that later this week. So that's kind of the key things. But you have a lot of control of your trade at 70, but unfortunately, the higher the delta, the more expensive, right? The stock's going to be naturally. That makes sense, right? The higher the delta, the more expensive. So yeah, for the most part, you just want to evaluate that, and then and your time frame. We'll talk about that more this week. So if you can jump in and catch the other ones this week, otherwise on Thursday, we'll talk about setting stops, and tomorrow we're going to talk about picking options. We'll get a lot more into that tomorrow if that helps a little bit. But basically, if you're trading a 0.70 delta and it's not really that close to expiration, say you're a month out or something like that, it should move a little bit closer to where the stock moves, right? So this way you don't have to buy 100 shares of Workday, right, and have $21,000 on the line. You could just trade, let's say, a 0.7 delta on Workday here. Let's just say next month's, or pretty soon to be this month's, at the 0.7 delta. Which I should keep delta on here, right? Do I? I don't have delta on this one. I have all my stuff and I don't have delta. That's like the most important. Let me customize mine real quick. I don't have delta. Let me add delta. There we go. Boom, there's delta. Okay, so there it is. So we look for the 0.70. So right here, you can see it's actually got a lot of interest on it. So the 200s. So now you're only spending like $1,800 as opposed to 22,000 to control 100 shares worth of W day. Okay, so now these are going to be lower tomorrow because of the vol crush. Not so much on the out of the money ones, but a little bit. So let's hope for tomorrow we can get maybe catch these for around like $15. So if everything looks really good and you want to swing it, right, you have that chance if it moves $5-10, right? So then you have that chance of making almost $5-10 in the option. So maybe $7 out of 10 because of this 0.7 delta. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense there. So but yeah, that's kind of the idea. Session, you second that question. Okay, well, good. Well, hopefully that was a little bit helpful. We'll talk more about picking options tomorrow, so for sure. Experiences, and would you go over open interest and options volume, please? Yeah, so don't trade options. Long story short, don't trade options unless there is decent open interest. And typically in whichever strike you're trading, you want at least 100, right, to show that something is going on. But you don't want to have like a bunch of zeros around it. So you can see here there's some pretty decent, you got 1,000 here, 1,000 here, 1,000 here, right? So people are putting some bets on before earnings, but it just shows that there's some activity, and then your volume, you want it to be pretty decent too, okay? So here you don't want to be trading if there's only one, right? You don't want to be in this game right here, right? Because it's hard to tell. Now, a lot of times the market maker will fill you, right? But these things can jump around a lot, and then sometimes they don't fill you. You can put a market order out there, and it won't get filled. I've had that. I've been in a situation where I traded a non-liquid stock, and this is how I learned all this stuff. I mean, I was like trading it, and I was like, why can't I get out? I just spent $500. I maybe bought something for like $5. I spent $500 on the options, and I couldn't get out of it. Ended up going to zero. So I may as well just taken my money and just got me out of the stock and just dumped it, which I couldn't even do. I tried to market out. It's just, I was like, I put a limit order at 0 and it didn't even fill. So anyway, that's kind of the idea there with that. So that's open interest. So really, really important to have. That's why just trade, big cap stocks, right? Then you're fine. Or just trade SPY. SPY is awesome. I encourage a lot of people. I trade SPX, but trade SPY, right? It's a great way to practice. You can catch the big moves. You saw you can get a 3x trade on it, and look at the open interest and the volume on SPY. Let it load first. Let's get to at the money. I mean, look at this. Open interest 20,000 today, 30,000. I mean, huge open interest. Look, a lot of people. Look at that. A lot of people are betting here that this thing's going to go up, right? It's kind of funny. Right, not a lot of in the monies, but a lot of out of the monies, right? So you got lots of people spending like a penny to see if this thing could reverse. Pretty funny stuff. But well, this expired already, but you can see there's a lot of action on there. A lot of people trying to buy the dip today and fail. A lot of people got crushed today. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, you can trade this very, very liquid, and look at the spreads. The spreads are, well, this doesn't look good right now, but The spreads usually like typically like this is not accurate for this buy. Let's look at tomorrow's. Yeah, 2 cents, right? 1 cent spreads. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. So SPY is a great one to trade on. And then once you get really good at SPY, then you jump to SPX and like you just really, really roll. It's great. Okay, my pleasure. So, session, congrats. Awesome. Well, thanks. Appreciate you so much. So definitely welcome. You know, you're gonna be a part of a good team. Callsaw, what do we got? Roku. Did they DG it just to get in? Maybe. That's a good point, Callsaw. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. This is an awesome question. Institutions love to do this. Okay, they'll downgrade a stock because they missed the move, right? So, and then retail traders are going to dump it, right? Because they're like, oh no, what's going on? I was long and now I'm crushed. And they dump their stocks and like, you know, the institution who downgrades is like, just gobble it up, right? So yes, very, very possible. But institutions, when they want stuff, right, they can pretty much buy it at any price. So just be careful here. It might get some follow through, right? And then the institution's like, okay, now I'll buy it. It might be just retesting this bull flag. Might be testing the earnings day high as resistance, and then they'll start buying it up. So great point. Yeah, it was kind of out of nowhere downgrade. It's ridiculous. So Angus, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Shirley, okay, everybody, cool. We got awesome list from Shirley again. So let's just kind of run through those. I'll get through as many as I can. Shirley, ADVM. Looks like Roku. Oh wait, it hasn't changed yet. Okay. There it is. So this is really interesting. Should I just be careful with this? It likes to just kind of chop around for a long time, moves up, and then chops around for a long time, moves up, chops around for a long time, moves up, chops around for a long time, question mark. Okay, but yeah, nice move today. So if it does continue, your levels are looking sweet. APLS. Nice move today on volume. Big spike there. Could start to work its way up to that 25 level. That would be sweet. Glob. Globed. Oh, pardon me. So here's your previous significant low. Big volume today, Shirley. So nice volume. There you go. There's your trend line. So as long as it holds that, it could be solid. That is starting to look interesting. But look how low the volume was previously. Really, really low. Big volume today. What was the news? Upgrade to 100. Wow. What was it? 88. But still, big upgrade. Nice stuff. Good potential on that, Shirley. SMAR. Oh, sorry. I was trying to write the full name, right? Smart cheat. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Still holding your fib fan level, right? Remember we tested that volumetric level. We're back up. We're over the fib fan. Nice pause day. Possible, you know, kind of doji sandwich to the upside. So that looks good. Liking it. BAH. Booz Allen. A little earnings weirdness. Gosh, Thinkorswim's been doing this to me today. Really, really weird. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Big move. Huge bar today for Booz Allen. You know, big range day. So let's see if, like you said, I like it. Let's see if we get some follow through. Hard to. Here's kind of your level. Right. So try to break down, failed. Now let's back up again. So yeah, could be good, especially a break over today's highs. And let's see. Nikolai, what's going on? Good to see you. I'm going to do shop and V-Ray, Shirley. Okay, so let's go shop. They're all pretty cool. Shop is fun to trade when it works. It's a little dangerous, right? So here's a couple trend lines, right? So it has a lot of bull flags. It continue to break up, break out. So again, yeah, I mean, I would still think it might pull back a little bit just to see if it tests that 269 level. I know it's far away, but it could do that. So just give you a pullback on that or another bull flag, and then V-Ray. Okay. Yeah, big move after earnings. So let's just see if it continues to hold those levels. If it does, you're looking good. Your volumetric resistance there is 9.4, so just be careful there. La Machine Polonaise. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to cover, but hopefully it kind of made more sense. I really just kind of wanted to point out that it's not the Greeks that that truly make up the time value, that's they're incorporated into, their movement affects that difference in the pricing. So good stuff. Merit Forever. Oh yeah, Beyond. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay. Yeah. So crazy. Red day, green day, right? But a bit of a topping tail today. So look, if it breaks below today's lows, it could push the downside. I did get an upgrade today, so this was kind of a 15 orb. I didn't get to examine it today. Lots of stuff going. Wow, really tough. But here's your 15 orb level. Made it really tough to trade. Big range, but again, eventually got up here, attempted, and then it finally broke out here. So 87.10 all the way up to 88.80. So a little bit tricky on those breakouts. So, but yeah, kind of back into that range. So tomorrow, so kind of gave you a little bit of a topping tail today because of this. So it was green though. So see if we can kind of see how it handles this range right here. Okay, so those are kind of key levels. Look at those 15-minute bar ranges. They could carry through into tomorrow. Good stuff. Call Salt, Tesla and Goog. Oh no, that's fine. That's cool. Tesla. Yeah, how's Tesla doing? Is this thing ready, or is it still going? Is it going down to $100? Oh, wouldn't that be nice? That's pretty nasty too. It had this huge move up in the first 15 minutes. Not fun. Oh man. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's just still going down. Let's see how the Bollinger Bands look. I mean, pretty rough. Is that inside day? Low? 88.75? No, not quite, but it is another momentum shooting star, so it could continue to push to the downside. This thing is showing no end in sight. Does that mean blindly short it? No, but certainly shorting rips could be interesting. Right, you saw that one today, like the rip at the open, right? There's your weekly still showing negative. You're short the rip there. Douche. Huge move to the downside. Incredible move. Oh no, maybe it'll be okay. Sorry. Good stuff. And then Google. So Google, I know we are stocking this thing. This thing is going to eventually reverse, but you just have to keep your eye on it because these things like to move when you take your eyes off of it, right? So let's check out the daily here. This is the chart, okay? So from the highs, this is your prior pivot high. Okay, it's broke down below that. It tried to break out above it. So now you can see I already have an alert here. Let's see how it holds that level. Okay, we can put it there for now. Okay, so it's kind of through this trend line. Now let's see if it can break above that, and then it might give us that nice push there to like 1207. But if not, it can't hold. I mean, futures are pretty nasty. This thing can kind of work its way back down there, and we'll still have to see if it tries that trend line later. That 1100 could be a key test level. Okay, so that could be pretty interesting. I know we've been tracking it for a while, but we'll see how it holds. But I really like how this kind of pennant type thing is forming. Nice downward trend line. I think this thing is eventually going to move, so it could be pretty neat if we catch that. OD, awesome. Thanks for jumping in. Trying my best. Yeah, so hopefully good stuff we covered. You guys can always go back and kind of pause the video and look at kind of the definitions and all that stuff. So Shirley, awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your great stuff. And Harvey, thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. All newsletter subscribers, thank you so much. Yeah, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Check out the newsletter. Check us out on Twitter. And remember your risk first. And stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have an awesome night.